First call to the public. Do we have anyone in the public that wishes to speak on any topic? Okay, hearing none. We move to item number 4, and I would consider a motion to authorize the sheriff's office to hire one part-time, up to 25 hours per week, court security officer to refill the vacancy at an hourly pay rate of $12 per hour with no fringe benefits except those required by law.
Make that motion.
We have a motion
Support.
and support. Any further discussion?
No, the sheriff just wanted to let us know he couldn't be here tonight. He's at the Shopping with a Hero event, but he did want us to know that this is an immediate need, something they need. These continue to flow out of our county due to the $12 an hour, so I think it's something that'll probably be addressed with our wage study, so we're not too far off from hopefully not losing the talent, but it's needed. They lost, I believe they lost 3, but they lost 2 right now, and one's on their way out.
Was this refilling?
This is the refill.
Yeah.
This is not an addition. Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, the same. Motion moves forward. Item number 5 is a discussion item, and let's discuss appointments to the following boards and committees. Letter A, or the first one, is Central Dispatch Board. And I am going to refer to Commissioner Parks for potential nominations.
So, yeah, of the nominees that you have, right in
Of
front
the
of you,
nominees.
yeah, there was 4 vacancies and 4 applicants.
Right, so I guess I would just think to reappoint everybody that's applied. Michael Harradine, Kathy Mahalan, Chief Guy Hubbard, and Director Kevin Lankart with Shiawassee Public Safety.
Okay.
Support.
We have a motion and support to reappoint the 4 individuals that Commissioner Parks just nominated.
Are these all reappointments that are the honest?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Except for Chief Lankart, he's the Director of Public Safety for
Shiawassee.
Shiawassee.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
retiring. That's
And
right.
Bill Baker's retiring, representing the fire chief, so they elected him. They haven't sent me a letter yet, I think they just met. They haven't got our letter, but I did talk to Guy Hubbard, and he informed me, that's why I typed up just an email. They said they'll have his letter hopefully by here tomorrow. Guy Hubbard's gonna write us a letter for the Fire Chiefs Association.
Oh, okay.
But that'll be a new appointment to the board.
All right, we have a motion and support for the nominations. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed, the same. Okay, motion moves forward to committee of the whole. Community Corrections Advisory Board, also a discussion item tonight. And again, I will defer to
Make a motion that we reappoint Matthew McComb and consider reappointing Mayor Corona Charles Carriage.
There's a motion and support. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I am currently seeking out the 3 other members that have yet to respond. And I don't know if it's just the letter, maybe the letter went to a different address, we don't have updated, but I'm gonna try to reach out to the other 3. I talked to the circuit court judge, and he informed me that it would probably be best that we reach out to Cynthia Van Lake to get this committee active again and seek funding to get community corrections up and running again. It's been dormant this last year, and I think we need to get going again.
I'm personally familiar with Matt McComb and Mayor Carriage. I was a mayor at the same time he was. He's been a mayor forever now. So I'm personally familiar with both of them. I know Matt's heavily involved in drug court.
He's a special prosecuting attorney on murder cases too.
So we have motion and support. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same. Motion moves forward to the committee. That moves us to item number 6. Any other agenda items at this time?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Just because we have a few minutes left before we can even start our next meeting anyway, how many of this may be only a question you can answer, Mr. Chairman. Of all the subcommittees, were there any where there were more vacancies than we were able to fill? And how many were there, or at least a summer, are we still having trouble filling vacancies at the subcommittee? Yes.
There are some empty spots.
Again, the Veterans Board was gonna be the only one that's far exceeded
Right.
openings.
Okay,
But
so, I mean, just to brainstorm, while we have a few minutes anyway, I was on my way to the Vernon Township meeting yesterday, and I kept thinking, I was gonna let them know that we are still having trouble, and every time we have meetings and reappointments, I go out and I say, hey, if you know anybody, let them know, we're looking for appointees. And I have to think, right now, all we do is we put it up on, on the county website, right? But how many people really read that county website every single day looking for an opportunity to volunteer the time they don't have to begin with? Is there any way we could find an opportunity to reach the public through, I don't know. See, I'm a teacher, so I don't have a Facebook page. It almost seems like Facebook is the way to go with getting the word out that we have some sort. Is there a way we could
we are
engage in that?
currently addressing that. Kaylee's working on that. I know we talked with our IT people for the security purposes and setting it up. I believe Kaylee got the clearance, we just haven't done it yet, but that was something we wanted to put up, a Shiawassee County Facebook page to have that be an outreach, because we all know when things about this board hit social media, there are many people that see and comment, so I'm thinking that would definitely be a good thing to have out there.
I agree.
So we are looking at that, so that's a good
That is
suggestion.
an excellent idea. All right, yeah, because I like to think, there, like you said, the Veterans Committee, people volunteer until the end of time for it, but like a solid waste committee, people don't want to be on it. I wondered if that's because people don't want to be on it, or people just don't know.
Mixture, I think.
Yeah, I think you're
I think with the opportunity on Facebook, we could maybe expand on that rather than just looking for volunteers for particular committees. Describe exactly what those committees are.
Yeah, I
I mean, we have the opportunity to actually,
Yeah, I think we
expound upon a lot of the things that people, I'm sure they're saying, solid waste, that sounds gross, I don't want to do that.
It'll be a good opportunity
Well, that's
to market everything that we do here, and I think it just helps with outreach to the public, so people see what's going on, know what's going on. No more transparency issues either, and we could post a lot more out there and put a lot more out there than people are seeing. And we might not have to pay so much.
Right,
to
exactly.
local
We don't have to
papers to put
dedicated,
ads in.
$8,000 like we talked
Yeah.
about earlier. I appreciate that a lot. I really hope that that's something that maybe we ought to take and come January and decide as a board that's something we want to fight, we want to have it to be one of our goals to start to fill these boards and have even more applicants than, what there are openings, and really get some outreach going. I think that'd be a good thing for us to do. That is really all I had.
Okay. Any other agenda items? Well, that was a short meeting. Second call to the public. Anybody at all have any comments? None, hearing none. I then adjourn this meeting. I didn't know he was, Ron Elder was he expressing interest in being reappointed? He told me he was going to be
Submitted his letter.
Yeah.
ABC 1258 West, so, what's that? Nothing stuck there. No, it wasn't, they didn't have
Never really
anything,
wanted
they
to
just
fight
posted,
for it.
I guess, a lot of these are posted this way, a lot of areas, you know? Yeah, it was, yeah. I didn't even know we could do.
Do I, this is,
Program. I just know it's free. Yeah. I tried to find it on the website.
Sherwood is.
I didn't find it.
He's under.
Oh, cool.
oh, I see what you're saying. Well, we don't have to. Or maybe these two have been, the two that have been.
Yeah. I can't wait to see this.
I know he was
That's something, we can say third.
although that name.
My understanding is that we don't see it.
But it doesn't go before.
Are you ready?
Ready
to face the
Whether he actually follows through with that or not. But then it's just not sure.
Is that your stuff? Yeah.
Would be based on under affairs without any interference or anybody.
Yeah.
The first time first. We're not as board members to tell you that. We're just interested, but you guys run the affairs of it too without those others running the show for 20 years and having all these dead bodies here.
And I'm not surprised to see Johnson have she's playing with the science. She's
We're gonna rework your.
See, because no matter what I told you about the waiting period and giving time for counsel and all that, she's hating that something, right?
You see without glasses now?
Yes.
Well, that's good, because you don't have mine.
Right, it is different.
Is that from the surgery that was corrective? Didn't you used to always have to wear glasses?
Oh, yes. And I just have to do the readers.
Huh? Neat.
Yeah. It's different.
It's going the other way for me.
When I'm out, what I liked about it was like this morning when I'm sweating because I'm out walking at the crack, before the sun even thinks about rising, and I have to.
And the
bend over.
temperature's 10
Oh,
below?
I love it. I just love it. The key is a windbreaker. Your wind pants and windbreaker.
And
But
you just
anyway,
walk? You're not
I-
running?
No, I'm walking. I just walk. I have 2 dogs that are walking. And so I don't bend, when I bend over to take care of their business, my glasses don't steam up.
Oh,
I come in the
yeah.
house, my glasses don't steam up. I love it. It's just getting used to not doing this all the time.
I don't really like.
It was
I
pretty
don't
long.
have- I'm supposed to run all the time.
I mean, don't bother me, I grab for it, but it was cold.
It was chilly,
I
but
was
I,
at, out on 21 up by Reed Road, we're working in this big empty field next to us. Blowing.
I'd like to call to order the Health and Human Services Committee. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I apologize, my voice is very scratchy. We'll try to get through everything. I passed, just so everyone knows, I passed out an executive summary of the Veterans Review that we did. I have a larger file that's corrupted that had all the handouts from SATA and from Bill Archer and everything. So hopefully I can get that fixed and we'll have a larger report. But wanting to get this passed out, some of the stuff's already happened, some of the corrections or some of the recommendations in the last couple months. And we have have an item on the agenda too tonight, that'll be covered with that. So if you have a chance, read through that, during the meeting. First item, call to the public. Anyone like to speak? Want to do anything in? No? Okay, item number 4, consider authorizing the health department to contract with Dennis Chernin, MD, MPH, in the amount of $35,144 for the period of January 1st, 2018, December 31st, 2018, and authorize Larry Johnson, Health Director, to sign any necessary documents.
So moved.
Support.
So I have a motion to support. Discussion. Larry, can you help us out?
Dr. Chernin is our medical director. We're required by law to have a medical director on staff at the health department. He has been with us since 1986, and he's been valuable for me, especially when we have outbreaks going on. And we're fortunate to be able to continue to have his services for another year.
He was on, I attended a board meeting, I was at this week, this week, last
Yeah,
week, this week,
Wednesday.
Monday? Was it Monday? No, last week.
Thursday.
Last Thursday. He was on the phone, and he was, we had some topics that came up, and one of them was chronic wasting disease, which we'll talk about under other agenda items, but, it was very helpful to have him on the phone and answer questions and explain stuff, so. So any more discussion on item number 4? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, moves on to committee of the whole. Number 5, consider authorizing the health department to contract with Rex Pierce in the amount of $35 per hour for the period of December 15th, 2017 to June 30th, 2018, and authorize Larry Johnson, Health Director, to sign all necessary documents.
So moved.
Support.
Motion to support, discussion. Larry?
Yeah, our current finance director is retiring at the end of the year, moving down to be closer to her grandkids. And so we are in transition right now as far as our budget finance position. I was fortunate enough to able to get the services of a gentleman who is a 30-year retired state auditor, and he's also a 10-year retired budget director for the Jackson County Health Department. So he actually has some history with our current finance director, with some mutual people that they work with at the state. So we're really looking to get him. Having said that, it's not a long-term solution. You know, he's retired. He's going to help us. After the 6-month period, he can go month to month. In the meantime, I'm still looking at the contractual option to do that position, and then I'll also look at if the contractual option doesn't work, is potentially just backfilling the position. But you know, right now everything's in a holding pattern with positions until we get the wage study back. This position will be for up to 24 hours per week.
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moves on to committee of the whole. Number 6, consider authorizing the health department to contract the Mid-Michigan District Health Department the amount of $6,000 for the period of January 1, 2018, December 31, 2018, and authorize Larry Johnson, Health Director, to sign all necessary documents.
Support.
Motion and support. We're in discussion. There's probably be a lot of discussion or clarification or some comments here, but why don't we start with you, Larry, first? And
Sure. Just a little background. About a year ago, the health department started looking at what some of our unmet needs were in the county with regard to health services. And we convened a stakeholder group and looked at different options for the population of women and men that are either uninsured or underinsured, and what their health service needs are. And so as we got to looking at that, I realized that I wasn't going to be able to start this sort of a service clinic just in our county alone because of the sheer cost of hiring a nurse practitioner. They're very valuable, they're very expensive, and I'm having trouble keeping nurses. So we looked at options with partnership with Memorial Healthcare or other entities, and with Memorial they have private practice physicians. These people are patients, so it wasn't going to work for us to partner with them. So I started brainstorming how we could make this work with potentially another governmental entity in a public-to-public partnership. So we reached out to Genesee County and Clinton County Mid-Michigan District Health Department Genesee County was not responsive, but Mid-Michigan District jumped at the chance. And so we started meeting with them, toured their facilities, they toured our facility, and we started to come up with a plan for how we could put together a contract to get nurse practitioner services provided by Mid-Michigan District Health Department in our county. The way this contract is set up is it's for 1 day per month, and the services will include breast and cervical cancer exams, pap smears, pelvic exams, blood testing, hepatitis B and C, and birth control. So that is also part of this health service contract. And we had a fairly lengthy discussion about that at our health board meeting last week, and I'm here to take any questions that you might have today.
And it's also blood pressure for.
Yep.
Right, correct.
Yep. It's going to be one of the
So,
services.
I guess I'll start. When I first heard this, I had some concerns. Didn't want a quasi Planned Parenthood clinic kind of attached with the county. Obviously, there's laws that prevent that with the funding, but I had a lot of questions. Board members had questions. 4 of us were at a board meeting this week, in writing, with a lot of stuff. Brandon did some legwork, reached out to Right to Life, and they said this is actually would prevent the possibility, or the potential possibility of Planned Parenthood coming back into our county, because it would be competition for some of the services that they offer. So initially I had concerns. I want to thank you, because you went above and beyond providing us with information at that board meeting, stuff we asked for at a couple days ago. So questions from anybody? Gary?
Were you on abortion clinics too then, or?
Nope, not at all.
What's gonna stop that?
The law, actually. Federal law and state law prohibit any reference to abortion or any type of procedure for the Medicaid funding that's going to fund it. And actually, employees have to sign a disclosure that they can't pass out brochures or even make any reference to it.
That was one of our concerns.
Yeah, it's
And
still
we
shaky, so.
we had questions about, and we went over and over, and like I said, he provided documentation and the federal laws, state laws. We
Do you
reached
have
out
that
to
with
Right to Life.
That document, we pass that around. Sure. That's please.
So,
Mr. Chair, I do have a few questions myself. To give us some bit of background, you are going through Title 10.
Title 10.
Okay, can you give us a bit of background
Sure.
on what
So
exactly?
Title 10 is the funding mechanism that was set up by the federal government in 1970. It was a law put in place to fund health services for uninsured or underinsured low-income individuals. It's the crux of the funding that supports these services. And this would be for people that don't have regular insurance or have a very, very bare bones policy that doesn't cover a lot of these services. And obviously, when you start dealing with cancer, STDs, they can be expensive. Set up in that law is the language, and Commissioner Marks is passing around a document that precludes any reference or use of that money to go towards anything that would be involved in abortion or terminating a pregnancy. It cannot be used for it.
So what happens to one of our employees that they really want to help this family out, and I can't really, but I slide a note to them that says, call, so-and-so. What happens to that employee during that type of encounter?
If I become aware of that and it's proved to be true, they will be terminated. And by law, they can be prosecuted, not only fined, but put in jail. And they're all going to sign that document.
A couple of questions, if I may. And I will reiterate that I myself have some apprehension that we start a program that could one day become a Planned Parenthood, which is exactly what I do not want in this county ever again. You mentioned, or actually I remember mentioned in a letter from Dr. Chernin, in his letter of support for this program, he mentioned, and I quote, "This will be the first type of program of its kind in the state of Michigan." Now, while it's always good to be cutting edge, sometimes I don't necessarily want to be cutting edge. What is this first of its kind?
Yeah, so once we reached out to the state to figure out if we could even set this up, it has not been done before where two health departments have contracted together to share the services for these types of clinics. And so it's really kind of a pilot project. And the good part about it is we're controlled by the Title X funding, and we have control here with our local board. And so there is no, we talked about the Planned Parenthood. The likelihood of them coming back is very low to begin with, but it's even lower once we're delivering the services here under our control.
Okay. My third question. What happens when the federal dollars for Title X runs out, if they ever run out? How do we keep this program? We're going to have to find a different way to fund this program. Is there a way that Planned Parenthood would swoop in and take this program over? How does this work? How are you prepared to guarantee to me that this will never ever become a Planned Parenthood in this county?
Yeah, funding is always a challenge, no matter what. I mean, as well as I do, the federal budgets are up and down. They've funded it since 1970, so the track record of funding is there for that source. Planned Parenthood also gets funding from Title X and cannot use it for abortions, but they have other sources of funding at their organization. We will be getting, actually, the way this is set up, Mid-Michigan District Health Department is doing the billing. So the funding for Title X is going to go through their department. The $6,000 that we put in the contract is only for any potential cost overrun that would be above and beyond what they get reimbursed from their Medicaid funding. We did talk about this at Board of Health, and if the funding were to go away, then we would have to reevaluate whether or not we can continue the clinic.
I have one more question before a brief comment statement I'd like to make if I can. So you've said that no employees allowed to help anyone find a way to have an abortion. What about literature laying about, literature passed out that tells you where to go to have an abortion or anything like that? Is that going to be involved?
Not permitted.
Not
permitted.
Okay.
And in fact, we wrote a statement in the contract
Oh, I
that
see.
says to that effect.
Okay. So we won't even have literature laying around.
Nope.
I guess with that, what I will do now is I'd like to share with the board an email I received and an unofficial statement from a person named Genevieve Marnin from Lansing. She is from Right to Life.
She's also a resident here.
She's a resident of our county. She actually is from the Perry area. And I'll just go ahead and read you what she said. And I'll be honest, this statement very heavily factored into my final decision as to whether I support this or not. She said that since Shiawassee County is not contracting with since they are contracting with Mid-Michigan Health Department, they're contracting with another governmental organization. It is written in state law that county-state providers are not allowed to perform abortions nor refer for abortions. It appears that the county is attempting to provide at least a small level of Title X services. Shiawassee County is one of 15 counties in the state that has no free or reduced cost birth control and STI or STD treatment and testing as provided by Title X. So, the timing on this is actually interesting, as we were just discussing Planned Parenthood's statement that they are a necessary provider and that if they were defunded, rural areas wouldn't have coverage. The fact that Shiawassee County is among 15 other counties that do not have coverage shows that Planned Parenthood isn't really interested in rural counties. They have most of their facilities in urban settings. I'd much rather see services being provided by the county than leaving a void that risks being filled by Planned Parenthood. This contract may in turn out to be a very good thing, and that Planned Parenthood would be less likely to reopen in Shiawassee County now that there's someone else providing reproductive services. She signed sincerely. So with that, I will say that I do support this program after all of my apprehension. A lot of you know I've had apprehension, but if this is a way to keep up Planned Parenthood and provide some necessary services, I can get behind that. That's all I have to say.
Any other questions or discussion from any other members?
I do have one comment.
Yes.
In response. Also, there's a great deal of education that occurs with this program, and I know one of the issues I had was, we concentrate so much on birth control, but we kind of let the abstinence end of it slide. They were gracious enough to include that in their education packet, as well as natural family planning, whether you agree or disagree with that. It's another aspect of reproductive and prevention methods. So they were good enough to include that in their education package. So many aspects of birth control are covered. And I was pleased to see that.
Any other comments, questions? Before we take a vote, I want to thank you again because this is, talking about doing due diligence on everything. A lot of us had questions. They're sitting up here. You were, ready on the spot with the information. Invited us to the board meeting last week where it was discussed thoroughly with 4 of us, 3 of us that were there. I think this has been vetted. We've done our homework on this, so I thank you very much, Larry, for that. So with that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, moves on to committee level. Number 7, consider authorizing the health department to hire a public health nurse to refill a vacancy of the SEIU nurse salary range of $42,545.34 to $52,365.20.
So moved.
Support?
Okay, discussion.
Yeah, one of our nurses resigned to take a position at Covenant in Saginaw. A really great nurse, hate to lose her. So that left us with a void there in our maternal and infant health program, so we're requesting permission to fill that position.
Any questions, discussion? Comments to Larry that he can't keep employees? Just kidding. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes, moves on to committee of the whole. Thank you very much, Larry. I appreciate all the work you've done the last 2-3 weeks on this, so thank you. Number 8, discussion item, appointments to the following boards and committees. A, Valley Area Agency on Aging, and B, Veteran Affairs Committee. With the first one, with the Valley Area Agency on Aging, we've received 2 names, Ron Elder and Sandra McCulloch. I don't know if you guys know them, I know both of them quite well. Ron actually served as a commissioner here. He's very involved in the Marine Corps, he does Toys for Tots.
Yeah,
Gary?
my concern is, I was on that board, and we was in a closed session, and there was a lot of talk went on in the closed session, and Ron come over here and talked to Jeremy all about what went on in the closed session, and he shouldn't have, so I don't think he should be reappointed. That's actual fact.
It's true. But I didn't know it was closed session that it was telling me about. I have a question for you. Closed session on a board like that.
Board
If
like
a-
what?
It's BAAA, which is multiple counties, isn't there a few counties in that?
Yeah.
Representatives from each county, they go into closed session to discuss wages or whatever they're discussing for their services. If a member of that board, being that there's all these different entities involved, has I don't want to make Commissioner Holzhausen seem like he was in the wrong, but he had some disagreements with them, and they were reporting back to me as for Shiawassee County that there were some problems. He vented some frustration. He stormed out of the meeting, and is there a way around closed session, or should he still have not said anything about that? Reported that in any way to anyone, because it all happened.
What type of board is this?
It's a 3-county.
It's a 3-county board that sits
It's like
over
any other closed session.
What's their purpose though, this particular?
senior services.
They oversee like our local
And what's
scope.
what's the subject of the closed session? Was it,
I don't know, that was-
did they do it under the Open Meetings Act?
They would have had to, don't you?
Yeah, they was going to discuss, well, I'm not supposed to tell either, so.
That's true,
Yeah,
Well, votes or actions that are taken are done in.
well,
in open session.
I can say they went into closed session to discuss wages, you know, that was open, and they went into closed session to discuss
Was it
wages.
labor discussions?
Huh?
Was it wages and benefits
Yeah,
discussions?
regardless of what it was about, he didn't tell me what happened in the meeting and what they discussed at the meeting, he just told me the actions of Commissioner Olshausen. He relayed to me what had happened and, you know, he stormed out, he didn't want to be a member of the board.
I didn't storm out.
That's just what he said to me.
Yeah, he's a rotten person, as far as I'm concerned.
So-
He shouldn't be blabbing his mouth in a closed session. Now, that's my comment, so.
I'd have to look into it. Some of these things aren't, some things are more secret than
Well, I mean,
others.
if he had no right to say anything, then I agree with Commissioner Olshausen.
It wasn't a closed session whether they should be or not, they was in one, that's what they voted to go into a closed
Closed
session.
session, what was the topic of closed session? Was it about you or was it about something else?
No, it was about wages, it wasn't about me. No, it wasn't when they all said that we're gonna go into closed session, we're gonna discuss wages, so that all the other help and everybody had to leave, and it was just the board themselves that stood there. And I was on the board.
I'd have to know more. If there's a discussion about conduct, for example, in a meeting,
No, I wasn't conduct.
Well, I think that's all. I think that's what he was trying to say.
Oh, yeah.
Was conduct on you. He wasn't
Yeah.
trying to, but. I
Well,
mean,
he's not supposed to say anything around a closed session.
He isn't. I mean, Bonnie Toski sat right here and told all of us.
remember,
Closed session.
remember Bonnie Toski was dealing with a legal opinion that she was delivering. There was attorney-client privilege involved.
But when I knew a closed session was coming along, I read up on it, and closed session means exactly that. Nothing is to be discussed when that door gets closed in a closed session. That's my understanding.
Things like
Discuss about
conduct,
wages,
things like
discuss
conduct,
your whole-
behavior, conduct, things like that
yeah,
are
just
not part of the
just
subject
about
matter of the
Mr.
closed
Olshausen.
session.
He didn't discuss what they talked about.
He didn't discuss what they talked about, he just discussed that they were in closed session.
That's why we need to make it clear. If he did violate, then he shouldn't be reappointed.
Yeah,
But we need to know.
I don't know, I would have to know more about it, and just because he talked about, I don't
I
think.
talked to other commissioners of why I left, and there was a discussion on it, so we all discussed it.
Well, I mean, I received a
Somebody asked
call
me
from
not to leave
Albert
it.
and from
Yeah.
the director over there.
No official actions can be taken except in open session, so,
Okay, so when a closed session comes up, I'm gonna blab it all and nothing happened. That's what you're saying.
that's not what I'm saying, Gary. I
Well,
said
that's
I'd
what you're saying right now,
No, it's
so.
not. I said I'd have to look at it, see what it was. Some things can be discussed if they have to do with conduct that has nothing to do with the
Well-
subject matter of the closed session.
Then that's, because this is an issue, we can hold off on this
Yeah.
appointment, when we just have down as a discussion item anyway. Gary, do you remember when this meeting was?
Oh, I got it written down in my book, yeah.
Can you get that stuff to Mike and maybe we can do a little bit of research?
Certainly, when you're talking about making appointments, so you can make appointments whenever you want, for whatever reason. You know, if the board members disagree with what this person did, they don't have to have any more reason than that to not appoint or appoint somebody.
There wasn't no appointment, it was over discussion of what we talked about at the meeting, and
I know, but that's what they're talking about now, Gary, is the appointment. And you don't have to have a reason not to appoint somebody if you don't want to appoint them.
I'm just saying I just brought that up because I didn't think he should be, because what he did, so.
Just an additional piece of information, Ron Elder is the chairman of the VTRIPL.
Yeah, well, he's got it, I forgot about that.
But my point is, he's the chairman of VTRIPL. Do we want to reappoint with this question out there? I'm actually talking in your favor.
That's why I'm saying, let's hold off on this, you get us the dates and everything, let's do a little bit of research. And we don't have to make this, we have to make this week, we have to make these appointments this week.
According to that, he's asked me to spill my gut while all went on at the meeting,
No.
and I'm not supposed to do that, so.
No, we're asking for the date of the meeting. And I'm pretty
He's the
sure-
one that, Elder's the one that spilled the guts what all went on at the meeting.
Just get the date of the meeting to Mike, we can find out exactly what the meeting was about and everything.
I can tell you what the meeting was about, because I was there. They went into closed session to discuss the wages. That's open. They had an open meeting, and then the other people left because the board was saying about the wages.
Wages of,
The people that work over at AAA.
So what we need to know is.
that's not, if that board is subject to the Open Meetings Act, something like wages is not a reason for a closed session.
Well, they went into closed session, so they shouldn't
Unless
be.
it's labor negotiations. I don't know, I
That's
really
why,
don't
that's
know.
why.
Well, it's
Get
a
us-
labor deal. What do you
Get us,
think?
get us the
What do you
date,
think it's labor?
Get us the date.
That's for the labor.
get us the date
What
of
do you
the
think, you're
meeting.
not a brain dead over there?
Get us the
Gee.
date of the meeting, and
I
we'll
get
get back on the
upset, so.
agenda and we'll
I can't
see.
believe you get upset this one over the meeting, Mr. Paul says.
I don't care, put it in the paper.
Okay, so,
Well, you guys are talking through, he says, well, you can't talk about labor, you know, but that's what it was, the labor negotiations.
Well, he's actually
I
talking
didn't-
in
I
your
didn't say
favor
that
then.
here.
He's saying the closed session shouldn't have been permitted. He's not arguing that you're wrong in any way. He's saying it probably shouldn't have been permitted to begin with to be in closed session.
so get us the date of that meeting, and Mike and I will do a little bit of research. What about on the McCulloch?
She was there.
We're calling her too. No, I don't think there's any issue with her, do you?
No, as far as I know.
Then I would like to make a motion to reappoint Sandra McCallick to the Valley Area Agency on Aging for the period of January 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2019, or until a successor is appointed and authorized the board chair to execute all necessary
Support.
Where you understand it, you talk like a baby, you don't get nothing done.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have support. Any discussion on Sandra? Okay,
Yeah, she was at the meeting too, so.
okay.
She was in the.
But I mean, but you have, clearly you're not as opposed to her as you are the first one. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes and moves on committee of the whole. Next item, Veteran Affairs Committee. We have two names. We have Irene Hoskins, and we have Chris Bagwell.
Mr. Chair, there are many appointments to the VA committee, as there are usually. I recommend that we, in fact, I'll go ahead and I move that we consider appointing Irene Hoskins and Chris Bagwell to the Veterans Affairs Committee for the period of 1/1/18 to 12/31/2021, or until a successor is appointed and authorized the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Support?
Any discussion?
You think Irene's too young?
She's a little young.
I'm not gonna make it down.
No, she's a good lady, so.
She's still kicking
She
butt.
is.
And she's still very involved in the
Yes.
veterans
Yes.
groups.
And a hero.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. What about, any discussion on Chris?
No, actually, we just,
Put them in.
I
Oh,
don't-
those are both together? I'm sorry,
that's all right.
I'm sorry. Too much cold medicine. Okay. Any other discussion on boards, committees, do that? Other agenda items, I just want to make a quick comment. I was at the board meeting, health board meeting with Larry Johnson and the folks last week, and Brandon brought up chronic wasting disease. It is, although it's not believed to be in our county yet, in our deer herd, part of our county is under the hot core zone area. It's becoming quite an epidemic here in our state. It's been found in some other counties. Other parts of Clinton County and Montcalm County has a huge infestation, as well as Kent County. And so this started a big conversation on chronic wasting disease, education and everything. So I just kind of want to throw this out there just as a discussion. I'm going to coordinate a meeting with Larry and Chris Stewart, who's heading up he's the deer expert for the DNR, working on chronic wasting disease. I know Larry wants to do a lot of, kind of incorporate that into health education stuff, which would be very helpful. Obviously, the state only has so much money. I know the DNR, they're spending 60% of their budget is being spent on disease, education, control, eradication. And you'll see a lot of stuff coming out in the next couple months into the spring about some changes with hunting regulations and and health education and stuff. So just kind of want to put that on the radar for everybody. Larry and I are probably going to be working on that in upcoming months. So, anyone have anything else you want to add to
How
other
did I get
agendas?
started? We're going, that's too long. How did I get started?
Okay,
It's
so-
too long.
Not to go too long into this.
Yeah.
Chronic wasting disease showed up about 40 years ago out west. Out west, it's very prevalent in the elk population, the moose, mule deer, and white-tailed deer. It's a disease. It's not a disease. It's a prion. It's a protein that gets absorbed into the deer's body, and it eats away at the brain. Once you have it in an area, you're never really able to eradicate it. You can kind of only control the area. almost 20 years ago, Wisconsin had an outbreak. They started doing some testing. Then they tested some other areas, and they found it was worse in other areas. And basically, they stopped trying to contain it, and they just moved to observation. It's a sickness that right now we believe cannot hop to other wildlife. If you're not a cervid animal, you cannot hop to animals, to humans. However, these prions, the protein gets into the soil, it can be taken up by the plant. So like alfalfa can contain chronic wasting disease. Potatoes, vegetables, they can contain it. Nobody really knows the toxicity level that's required to transmit it from plants to deer. It's more common in older age bucks than in does. A lot of times you never see the full-blown disease. A lot of the animals die of other related illnesses, or they start to become not as alert. They get hit by cars, or they get shot by hunters, or coyotes, wolves, whatever it be. So the first detection in Michigan was in Meridian Township. A lady in Hazlet saw a deer that was very sick in her backyard. She called for 4 or 5 days. Police wouldn't come out. Finally, the DNR came out, shot it, tested it, chronic wasting disease. Only deer that has been found in Michigan that has actually shown the characteristics of CWD. So then they brought in a bunch of sharpshooters, opened up the hunting in Meridian Township in that part of Ingham County, northern Ingham County. Picked up roadkills, did sharpshooter shooting. They found another 7 or 8. They were not showing signs of disease, but they were diseased. Genetic studies show that those deer were all related. There's belief that some animals are more resistant than others because of their genetics. More so in elk than in whitetail and mule deer. With deer in Michigan, there's kind of like 3 genetic codes. 80% of the Michigan herd has 1 code. They're really susceptible. 10% less susceptible, and another 10 even less. So the DNR started opening up hunting. They found one in DeWitt. They found one over in Eaton County. Somebody turned in a deer in Montcalm County voluntarily. They didn't have to, they weren't required to, and tested positive. So the DNR scrambled to go up there this fall, and they started testing. Right now, out of the 30 deer in Michigan that have tested positive, 20 have come out of Montcalm County. They expect in the next 2 to 3, 4 weeks, they will have another 30, 40 deer test positive in Montcalm County and Kent County. It isn't just in one township or one area like it is here in Ingham County. It is like, not all the townships, almost all the townships have it. They'll never be able to rid the disease in our lifetime in Montcalm County. There's too much of it there. For example, they're doing tests in some townships. They've had 70 deer, and 2 deer have tested positive, or 3 deer. Whereas in parts of Clinton County, Ingham County, tested 7, 8, 1,000 deer. They have 0. In Meridian Township, they only have those 7 or 8, and they've tested thousands. So it's not that common in Ingham County as it is in Montcalm County. So now the question becomes, where else is it in the state? They believe that the Montcalm strain is not connected with the Meridian Township. They think that, but they don't have enough testing. And they found one in Westphalia. They don't have enough testing in Ionia to see if Montcalm can be linked all the way back here. But they believe it's two separate things. It can be transmitted by people bringing in animals from out of state. It can be transmitted from, like we talk about vegetation. The deer lure industry is an unregulated industry, and it can be transmitted through deer urine. A lot of hunters use that. So that's one way. It's believed that the Meridian Township has the highest number per capita in Michigan of out-of-state hunters, and they believe it was brought from out west. It was a taxidermist who improperly disposed of carcasses on some property. I think that's how that spread in Meridian. They don't know about Montcalm, but they think it's been in Montcalm County for a while. So the good news is, right now, Woodhall, people are turning in deer, and it's in the zone. Nothing's tested positive there. Nothing's tested positive in Bath or Victor, which would be like the Langsburg area. So the Meridian Township stuff might be contained. Montcalm County, if that lead goes unchecked, 20 years, it'll be all the way from Mackinac Bridge down to Ohio and Indiana. It'll spread that way. But we don't know where else it is. So there's obviously precautions on, and there's issues where, getting your deer checked, how you handle it, how you process it, if you eat it, if you choose to eat it or not. There's a lot of health issues. So obviously, the more deer that are turned in, the better it is statistically for the DNR to figure out where the contaminated is.
Who checks the deer?
What's that?
Who checks them?
You take it to a check station at like Rose Lake. They cut off the head. The head gets sent to Iowa, I believe, which is where they do the TB testing. They do some samples there. They get sent back to a disease lab at Michigan State. If it tests positive, then it's sent out to another laboratory to be double checked.
Is there a cost to the?
Oh, there's a cost.
To the
There's a huge cost. To the hunter, no. The DNR, if you're in the hot zone and you own the contaminated areas, you own 5 acres, you get unlimited tags year round. If you hunt, you get, and you're in certain areas, you get discounted tags. If you're not like a landowner. So the DNR is offering discounts to hunters to harvest. The DNR budget's going to be strained because it's so expensive. I went to a symposium at Michigan State for 2 days. They had the world's best professors, scientists, game herd managers, state wildlife agencies. Nobody really has any answers. The more questions you ask, the more questions there are. The idea is you lower the herd population, the does, the bucks, everybody. No baiting because baiting spreads it. Stop moving live deer if you're a game farm. You stop moving dead deer. You dispose of the carcasses properly. Those are all ways to contain it. There is no test for a live animal. The animal has to be dead. And there's no cure. Now there is a disease that humans get, kind of like CWD, mad cow, I can't think of the name of it. They've tried to do some studies out west, but the human populations, the wildlife populations are too low out in Wyoming, Montana, out in Colorado, those areas. Wisconsin, they've done it, and they found out that this human disease that eats the brain has a higher rate than it should have. But they cannot prove yet that it's mutated in junk. So, obviously there'll be more. I mean, you're going to incorporate that as part of your health education.
Yeah, that was an excellent synopsis, by the way.
I'm sorry, what's that?
That was an excellent synopsis.
Thank you.
The background. The only thing that I would add is that a lot of times it's been shown around deer that are in close quarters, which is why they put a baiting ban on in that hot zone, and eventually I think you're gonna see a statewide baiting ban.
Right now, I mean, the NRC did it, about 10 years ago, they had a statewide baiting ban that was rescinded from the legislature, not scientifically, more of an emotional thing. You're probably gonna see that reinstated. In the Upper Peninsula in Wisconsin, it's 20 miles from the border. It's interesting, you go to the UP, whole nother world, they're worried about it coming, and they don't even, I've been to some meetings up there, they're not even aware that, like, we already have it down here. The DNR's dealing with the issue down here. So Wisconsin's been used as kind of a model study, and it just got out of control. It was just too fast. By the time they discovered it, Illinois, it's slowly coming into Illinois. Illinois has spent millions and millions of dollars, the state has, preventing it from going to southern Illinois, where there's like some of the best deer hunting in the world, down in the Golden Triangle. They've stopped into the northern counties, but they're employing 60 professional sharpshooters, and it's like a ton of money's being spent. They haven't been able to rid it, but they've been able to draw kind of a line in the sand. Problem with our state is, we're misshapen, we have peninsulas, and we've got it not on an edge, we've got it in the middle. So you're probably going to see like little circle areas where, state's still fighting the TV problem in the Northeast. TV up there is still running 2-3% a year. And, that's been going on for 20 years now. So there'll be more of that. Okay, call to the public.
Actually, I had some
Oh, okay.
items after that brief synopsis. Thank you.
Sorry.
I just wanted to go over your executive summary and recommendations. I didn't want it to go for us to just simply read it and maybe not act on some of these recommendations that we need to look at.
Hold on, and I apologize, I have a larger file that got corrupted, that had more of the testimony, the handouts, more information in it. I've got to redo that or re-put it together, but I wanted to get this out, which Jeremy's going over, but this is kind of the key points of where we are, and kind of the future direction, so, with that, what?
I want to look at the committee. There was some findings from the committee. It still remains unclear whether the current VA committee is effectively serving our veterans at a level expected by the citizens of this county. However, the one factor that has been determined and is quite clear is that the current group is not a cohesive unit. And I see them not working as well together, and maybe not as well for the public that they should be. Some of the recommendations, with some terms expiring soon, Shiawassee County Board of Commissioners should seek out new applicants that can bring new ideas and a fresh perspective. Several current VA committee members have served for a number of years and have simply been reappointed without giving new applicants a chance to serve. It's important to identify diversity with these appointments so that more recent conflicts can be more actively represented on this committee. We're also looking at an AG opinion on this. I think everything that's been referenced in here with AG opinions, we should probably look at, and I believe you are looking at sending them to get a recommendation.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows how that works for the Attorney General's opinions, go through your state rep or your state senator, or a state rep, state senator. So I'll probably go through Ben Frederick, type it all up, give it to him, and then, he has to say, yes, I'm willing to do this. He submits it. And then we go from there.
Under transportation, we know that we have current restraints right now, only having the one vehicle. Transportation solutions kind of going under, for lack of better words, not being able to provide the best services. I think we're trying to address that with this new van, working with them to get this new van, so I think that's something we can tackle relatively quickly. We're going to try to put out there for drivers, needing more drivers, having a more vast majority, pool, I guess, to pick from for people to drive. Housing is something that will be a long-term, something I do think needs to be addressed. Some current veteran groups in the county are trying to address that right now, so I think that'll be something that we could keep an eye on. Revenue was another thing that was looked at, whether money's being spent, enough money's being spent. We do have the issue with some fund balances growing. I do think it's always good, I guess, to have a little bit extra in case something happens, contingencies, but when these services are millaged and paid by the taxpayer, we probably should be using what we're asking the residents to pay for. So, but then again, when we go to future needs and we look at locations, due to this fund balance that's increased, I think that gives us the opportunity and the ability to look at a facility that's on the first floor, that's more open, that has the space needs, not having people, this elevator in the Survey building, I don't know how many times it goes out, in a month, and to have some veterans have to climb the stairs or not be able to go to their appointment because they physically can't climb stairs, So
But we did vote to reduce the
yes.
village, which, Matt, that was a question you asked about. And I don't know how much it's reduced by, and I don't know what it's gonna mean for your tax bill, but because they have such a surplus, and we're spending it, but not spending it all the way down, which is what Les talks about, we reduced the village amount a little bit, so.
But I think with revenues, I noticed it's stated in here, there's a constant question, seems to be a battle between members of the committee or people in the general public that why isn't more of the money being spent? That seems to be a big question. And I think that's something, we are adding new members. Hopefully that can be addressed. We're looking at a new director probably in January when they begin that process. So I think that can be looked at. But with all of this, I think, the strongest suggestion being to the committee as it sits now, I think we do need, I've been looking at some of the statutes that govern the Veteran Affairs Department, some of our stuff from our attorney that comes into play of removal of people from office without their terms being ended. And I think at this time, I would ask the committee, I sit on here, but I don't often make motions for the committees, but that they would consider maybe we start the process of looking at removal of remaining three with these recommendations and findings. But I think it's time that we move on, and we thank them for their service, we thank them for what they've done, they've put in a lot of time and effort, but at this point in time, maybe some of the visions or direction they have was good at the time, but I think now we need to expand and do other, we need to add other people from different war areas. I think there's a lot of interest in Afghanistan, Iraq, more recent conflicts, and maybe bring that type of perspective in that can then maybe stay on this board for a couple of years to get them to the next step of I'm not going to say that, I don't want to disparage any of the candidates that are terrible or shouldn't be applied, but I think we just appointed, but I think it's just time. So I would ask the committee if they want to explore these options to remove the three. We have a term ending in 2020, and we have 2 terms ending in 2019. That's why I just think with the divisive nature of that board right now, with new faces coming on, it's not been productive. And I think if more new faces get on the board, it might just add to more of a headbutting, and we don't really want that for 3 more years, I don't think. I think if we want to do a change, we ought to do a wholesale change, but legally and responsibly, which leads me to my next thing of the board itself, outside of just Health and Human Services, needs to look at, maybe in the new year, rules of conduct that we want to hold these boards to, that we want standards for people that serve on our board, just like there is. Because you come into a situation like this where, I've been approached, I've been yelled at in my face about appointments to the Veteran Affairs Board, I've been called names, I've been, and you can't simply just not put someone on the board because they do that, but I feel that's probably not the best conduct of somebody that represents Shiawassee County. And all of these boards, 911, health, or any of the boards that we have that are subcommittees to this board or advisory bodies to this board should be held to a standard that I believe we hold ourselves to. So that's something we need to look into, and that gives us also that ability to say, said member's term doesn't end for 3 years, but look at the number of conduct of the code of conduct that they violated. This is unbecoming of a board member that represents Shiawassee County. So I mean, it gives us that ability. Right now, we have gray areas. So we don't have policies, we don't have procedures, we don't have any of that for these boards and for members to serve. But we empower these people and make them public officials by giving them these appointments.
And if I can jump in here, some of these, they help influence the millages or the millage rates or the taxes, whether it's the 911 board or the Veterans Committee that are putting out proposals that are coming to us. And I don't think the Veterans Committee, if there was there a $300,000 surplus or fund, I should say surplus, fund balance. No, we heard, okay, veterans are being underserved. Well, and do you need 300,000? Maybe we collect 300,000, but maybe 200,000 of that needs to be spent. I understand, and John Pytosh mentioned that they're fiscal conservative group responsible with the money, but the money's there to be spent to help veterans.
I would have to add to that if that in fact is the case, is $300,000, that's an excessive amount of money to be held back. I'm a member of the American Legion and Sons of the American Legion, and I go to area meetings, district meetings, and state meetings. And at the end of the year, particularly for the Sons, I can only speak for the Sons of the American Legion, we spend our money down to zero at that meeting and make sure that the veterans of whatever organizations are represented, that they get that money. So we start every year with zero. And $300,000 is nuts. It's more than we end up with at the end of the year on the state level, Sons of the American Legion, but we still spend it down to zero. So $300,000, that's insane. That's an insane amount of money to be sitting on when we have veterans out there in need. So, based on Commissioner McMaster's report, I would like to make a motion that we explore options and the legality of removing the remaining 3 committee members.
Support.
Discussion?
I would just thank you for taking the time. This has kind of brought a lot to light, and I think it's been an ongoing, a long-term thing that's finally, I think, can be put to rest. And so, Commissioner McMaster's, the Health and Human Services Board, thanks for putting the time in, the effort, holding those hearings, bringing people in. So, you guys did a good job on that.
I guess I'd like to say I agree with everything that was said, but just a little word of caution. I don't want to just because there's that money and we can spend it, we don't want to spend it foolish.
I'm not
No, but
if there's good reason to spend it, all for that.
Okay, so, and I don't think you should spend it down to zero, because let's give the example of the family in Lanesburg. They had a fire, so what if you spend it down to zero right now, and New Year's Eve, a veteran family has a fight, you gotta have some money there.
I'm just saying, I was only.
But 300 is a lot
Right,
of money.
I'm not saying anybody said that or even suggest that, but you know what I
I'm
mean?
just saying how the
That
Sons
just
of the
rolls through
American
my
Legion
mind.
at the
It's
state level,
it's
what
gotta
we
be
do at
spent
the
wisely.
last meeting of the year, the last meeting of the fiscal year. I'm not suggesting that you spend it down to zero. I'm suggesting though that $300,000, sitting on $300,000 when the needs are out there is an excessive amount of money.
And
$100,000
the
is
needs are out there.
understandable. $300,000 is nuts.
I agree. The government's not here to make a profit. We're not business. We're not taking taxpayer money that they expect to go to the veterans and not give it to the veterans. But we also, I agree with you, we need to be fiscally responsible. I think we will trust our Veterans Board to do that.
Gary?
Yeah, I was saying the same thing, that just because they have money, don't mean that they spend it foolish. That was my big point.
Well, you need
Let's
a
go.
$1,000 car repair, well, let's just give them $2,000 to fix that car, you know, we don't wanna do, and I'm not saying by no means that anybody's suggesting that.
No, but, you know.
But I think the extreme has been demonstrated here. That, I mean, we have the records of what's been spent and what requests have been made. I question withholding anything, withholding any kind of service to a legitimate request made by a veteran. But, you know, I'm not on the board, I haven't seen them, I haven't had to evaluate them, so that's maybe not a fair evaluation. But I know the needs are out there, and I don't think any veteran should be denied.
You know, and I don't, to our Veterans Affairs Office, and Bill Archer is no longer here. I think they were doing a good job. I think they're servicing the community. I just think there's some stuff that's come to light. We've kind of scratched the surface. And, you know, there's the money issue. There's a few other issues, and I mean, that's part of our job is to. Gary?
Well, I mean, I don't want to be critical, but I don't think all veterans are in need either. I mean, there's lots of good ones, so they're not all
That's
in
true.
need. So-
That's true. But I'm sure there are veterans out there right now, whether they don't know that they can come and ask or qualify, or maybe they do. You can't tell me that there aren't veterans out there.
I'd be too proud, so.
And I'm not saying, you know, spend all 300,000, but I'm sure we could find some veterans that are in need of some of that money.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But, you know, okay, so to clarify, let's clarify the motion here. Does this remove the other three members, or does this look
This
into
does
it?
not remove, what I've recommended, that I would like to make a motion that we explore options and the legality of removing the remaining three
Okay.
committee
So,
members.
okay.
I'm not saying remove
You have
them, I'm
that-
saying
you have
let's
that
look at the
clarified?
options. We don't want to do
And
anything
the further-
hasty, and we don't want to do anything
Okay.
illegal.
So we have a
Further
motion
clarify,
for
the
support.
three remaining committee members are Hike, Sherwood, and
Brothers.
Brothers?
Okay, that's probably added in there.
I'll just add one more thing about kind of what you said, Commissioner McMaster. Though the office may not on face really be operating that badly, because I think we got some good staff members up there. You know, they are doing a good job, they are working, but everything and anything can be refined and done.
That's right.
There's always opportunity for improvement. So.
Okay, well, with that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, and who's in committee of the whole? You have anything else, Jeremy?
I have nothing else.
Okay, call to the public. Come on. I know you guys don't say something.
You don't wanna get me started,
Okay.
so that's why I'm getting real quiet. But I commend you in appointing the two people. I don't know Chris Bagwell,
Yeah, well,
but Irene I do know very well. She is the most dedicated little powerhouse there is. Everybody that knows her respects her, and she is very experienced and a very nice lady. I think they're both going to do a very good job. I have no doubt. Yeah.
take a motion to adjourn. Support. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. So Les.